Hello guys, it's me Billy Yunokami. So today I'll be reading a Shoto Todoroki X female reader Before You Go. And this was written by wait, I'm still checking who's the writer cuz I am okay. Anxious Deku in Wattpad, and the warnings here it's angst, self-harm, suicide, mention of endeavor. Before You Go is the title, and if you're thinking, so before you go, you're right. Okay. So now, yeah, let's start. I fell by the wayside, like everyone else. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, but I was just kidding myself. She knew she was screwed from the start. The way the two-toned eyes sparkle in the light, the way his hair bounced slightly with each step, his smooth, calming voice that made butterflies erupt in her stomach. Shota Todoroki was going to be the death of her. It seemed every girl in class felt the same, only making her insecure about her chances. Momo was intelligent and had an amazing body. Uraraka had a bubbly personality that made everyone around her smile. Mina had the courage to do anything, even she wasn't great at it. Jiro was extremely talented and was so down to earth. Suyu was so honest that it was really helpful. And Hagakure was too sweet and kind for this planet. And then there was Ryan Ellen. She didn't realize it, but she was incredible in herself. She had mesmerizing eye-colored eyes, soft hair-colored hair, and an infectious laugh. A body that made some of the boys in Class A drool. She told herself she didn't have feelings for Shoto, that he was just a classmate. Oh, how wrong she was. Every moment, a star plays, 'cause now that they're gone, all I hear the words that I needed to say. The hair-colored girl sat in a hospital room, tears streaming down her face. In the bed lay an unconscious Shoto Todoroki, who was struggling for his life. She knew the reason as why he led here, but she refused to accept it. Her classmates sat in the waiting room away from the hair-colored girl and the dual-haired boy. Her teacher, Shoto Aizawa, knew she was close to him, so he gave some time alone with him before he would give to grill for answers. Wyan's mind began to wander to a few moments with him that she cherished. She recalled the first time she gained courage to talk to him, thus forming their close friendship. Then there was the time she clung to comfort during a horror movie, where she unfortunately missed the soft smell that fell on Shoto's lips. There was also the time that he protected her during the training camp. The passion in his eyes was enough to make her weak in the knees. When you hurt under the surface, like troubled water running cold, time can heal but this woe. Wyan was the one of the few people he trusted with his past. Shoto told her all about his father and the cruel abuse he suffered for years. He informed her the reason of his scar, reliving every second of his mother pouring the boiling water on his face. She learned that she was separated from his siblings, never allowed to interact with them because he was special, and they were failures. He even went as far as to tell her about Toya, his older brother, who ran away from their personal purgatory known as home. As he was venting to her, he didn't realize tears were falling down his cheeks until he felt a warm embrace. He paused, looking up only to see the hair-colored girl hugging him, her own tears present. The two hugged for a while, Wang being the only person who ever gave Shoto a safe place to break down and display his true feelings. So, before you go, was there something I could have said to make your heart beat better? If only I'd have known you had a storm to weather. A sudden knock was heard against the door, pulling the hair-colored girl out of her thoughts. "Come in," she mumbled, her voice hoarse from all the crying. A familiar man walked into the room, remaining in the doorway. "Ellen, I'd like to talk to you. I know you don't want to leave his side, but it won't take that long, I promise," Aizawa explained, recognizing the hesitance in her eyes. He knew she was breaking apart of Shoto's unconscious state, but he needed answers, and he knew she had them. Wyan sighed but nodded. She gently took her hand out of Shoto's, deciding to be bold and place a gentle kiss on his temple. She let her fingers gently skim across the bandages in his arms. As she walked towards the door, following Aizawa out of the hospital room. So, before you go, was there something I could have said to make it all stop hurting? It kills me how your mind can make you feel so worthless. So, before you go. The two walked into the cafeteria of the hospital, Aizawa taking a seat at the sturdy wooden table. He gestured for Wyan to sit across from him, so she complied. Once she sat down, Aizawa began his questions. "First, I wanted to say we're all worried for Todoroki's well-being, and although we may not understand what you're feeling, we're all here for you," he comforted, noticing how her eye-colored eyes were welling with tears once again. She could only bring herself to nod, desperately trying to stay together in front of the teacher, someone who she looked up to and respected dearly. "Ellen, I understand that you and Todoroki were close, correct?" he asked, once again only getting a nod in response. "Do you know why he did what he did?" Aizawa pressed, only receiving an answer in a form of nod for the third time. "Please, I need you to tell me. Why did Shoto Todoroki try to take his own life?" The very words made the tears in Wyan's eyes spill over, the harsh truth coming back to her mind. The boy she had strong feelings for tried to take his own life just a few hours ago. "Was never the right time. Whenever you called, when little by little by little until there was nothing at all. Or every moment I start to play, but all I can think about is seeing that look in your face." Wyan began to shake as sobs escaped her lips, her control over her emotions finally coming to an end. Aizawa was taken back from her sudden outburst, but didn't judge her. He instead stood up from his seat, walking over and taking a seat next to her. He rubbed her back, trying to soothe the hair-colored girl even a little bit. Wyan could hear her classmates mumbling about the Asperges in the waiting room, but she didn't care. It's all my fault," she whispered, making Aizawa's black eyes widen. "What?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. He didn't understand what she meant. "It's my fault he tried to commit suicide. I wasn't there when he needed me," she cried, her voice racing with every word. Aizawa decided to pull the hair-colored girl into a hug, letting her sob into his shoulder. "Ellen, whatever happened, it wasn't your fault." Todoroki would never blame you. Please, tell me what happened. He reassured, desperately trying to get to the bottom of the situation. When you hurt under the surface, like troubled water running cold. Well, time can heal, but this won't. A shaky, deep breath escaped from the hair-colored girl's lips as she placed her head in her knees, tucking them into her chest. Shoto called me late night yesterday. My phone was completely off, so I missed the call. When I woke up in the morning, I listened to the voicemail he left, and she stopped herself, her breath catching in her throat. She couldn't bring herself to keep going, the guilt shame preventing her. Aizawa wrote down what she said, arguing her to continue, explaining what happened. After hearing what he said, I rushed to his dorm to see him. Then I found him laying on the ground, wrists slit. She finished whimpering as tears fell off her cheeks and into her knees. If you don't mind, I need to hear the voicemail, Aizawa declared, returning to rubbing her back. So, before you go, was there something I could have said to make your heart beat better? If only I have known you had a storm to weather. Ryan reached into her pocket, pulling out her phone-colored phone. She unlocked the device, getting to her voicemail. She handed the phone to her teacher, placing her hands over her ears. Aizawa was about to ask for an explanation for her answers, but she blurted out, I can't hear it again. It's still haunting me. She just nodded, playing the audio. Ryan, it's me, Shoto. Considering this went into voicemail. I'm assuming you're asleep. If you don't happen to wake up, please come to my dorm. I just got off the phone with my father. He's reminding me of how much a disappointment I am. How if I don't become a #1 hero? He's gonna make me pay. I haven't felt this awful and broken in so long. Please, I need you. Shoto's voice rang throughout the practically empty cafeteria, chills running through Wyan's body as she heard the muffled voice. So, before you go, was there something I could have said to make it all stop hurting? It kills me how your mind can make you feel so worthless. So, before you go, as soon as it was over, Aizawa placed her phone in his pocket. Ellen, this wasn't your fault. I need to hold on to your phone for a bit so I can prove what's happened. You can go back to his room now. I'll tell your classmates to head back to the dorms, he explained, getting a nod from Ryan. All right, thank you, sir, she mumbled, standing up from her seat and slowly walking back to her crush's hospital room, her mind racing with guilt, fear, and slight hope. Please be okay, she whispered to herself, opening his door and stepping inside. She found him in the same position with no movement. She turned to her original place beside his bed, her hand making its way to his left hand. However, something was off. Ryan let out a gasp as she realized his hand was ice cold despite it being the left side. Would we be better off by now if I'd have let my walls come down? Maybe I guess we'll never know. You know. She moved her hand to feel the left side of his face, finding that it was so cold. What the hell? She whimpered, panic fluttering in her chest. She placed a quick kiss into his forehead before rushing to get the nurse, who was in the other room. As she ran from room to room, her mind began racing once. If he dies, I'll never get to tell him how I feel. Please be okay, Shoto. Where the fuck is the nurse? She thought. Ma'am, letting out a gasp of victory as she found the nurse walking out of another patient's room. Ma'am, you can't be running around the hall. You need to come with me. She interrupted the nurse, fear in her eyes. It's your patient, Shoto Todoroki. His left side that's supposed to be warm is cold. Wyan cried, beginning to rush back into the room. Before you go, was there something I could have said to make your heart beat better? If only I'd have known you had a storm to weather. When the two entered the room, Wyan felt all hope leave her body. The hunting sound of a flat line filled her ears, making chills run down her spine. Her vision became blurry, and a loud ringing sound in her ears as the doctor and more nurses rushed into the room. Shoto, she mumbled, taking a step towards him. Once she snapped out of her daze, she tried to rush over to the dual-haired boy. The hair-colored girl reached out, so close to grabbing his hand. However, she was stopped by the two nurses grabbing her, bringing her out of the room. No, let me go! She cried, thrashing about in their hold. Please, I need him! Shoto! She screamed, now in the hallway. From the corner of her eye, she saw Aizawa rushing down to the hall. What happened? He asked, looking to the nurses for an answer. But I'm sorry, but Mr. Todoroki has flatlined. He's gone. We'll inform his family, but you should probably get her out of here, she explained, pointing to the shaking hair-colored girl. Aizawa nodded, placing an arm around Wyan. Come on, Ellen. I'm taking you back to the dorms, he declared, walking out of the hospital towards his car. So, before you go, was there something I could have said to make it all stop hurting? Kills me how your mind can make you feel so worthless. The black-haired man pulled up to UA, parking his car in his usual parking slot. He got out of the vehicle, opening the door for the hair-colored girl. Once she was out, Aizawa walked her back to the dorms. Are you ready to go in? He asked, keeping an arm around her shoulder for comfort. Wyan said nothing, only nodded. She felt drained, empty, and broken. She needed Shoto here. She needed to tell him how she felt. Now she'll never get the chance to confess to him. Her teacher opened the door, immediately being confronted by his students. They all had expressions of worry and concern, meaning they didn't know how Shoto was. With a heavy heart, I hate to inform you all that Shoto Todoroki is dead. He flatlined 40 minutes ago. I will answer questions, but later. But for now, I must deal with something else. He explained, tears coming down to his eyes as he saw his classmates processing the new information. Ryan used the opportunity to slip away, going to Shoto's dorm instead of her own. She closed the door behind her, finally allowing herself to break down. As she sobbed and cried, she saw a piece of paper out of the corner of her eye. She walked over to it, picking it up and seeing her name on it. She fell onto her knees and sobbed harder, holding the note close to her chest once she was done reading it. Ryan, I'm so sorry things went down like this. I just couldn't take the pressure of my father and the haunting memories of my past. Confiding you confiding in you was one of the best decisions I've ever made it, and it really did help me when things got really bad. I know you're going to blame yourself for my suicide, but please don't. I'm not upset with you for not answering, and I don't blame you for this either. Everything just came too much that night. I needed to get those voices out of my head. I never had the courage to tell you this when I was alive, but I love you. I love you so much. Everything about you is perfect, and there was nothing I wanted more than to be with you. Please keep smiling. That perfect smile that I love, and try to be happy. I love you. Don't forget me. With love, Shoto Todoroki. So, before you go. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. And I know it's sad, and I'm almost gonna cry. Uh, that's the first fan fiction with a song that I made. It's Before You Go, thanks, and yeah, and all. And shout out to Liana because she loves Todoroki, and I made this for this. I made it for her. So yeah, if you want to join my Discord server, go into the description. I have changed my Discord server because it has errors. And yeah, join the Clover Galaxy stations or Clover Galaxy Corner, I don't know. But yeah, it's still a Discord server. Okay, bye guys. I hope you take care.